Hello and welcome back. So today I'm going to be working on my F900XR. It's a bike I've had for about a year and a half now. It's been a great bike, absolutely love it. About a year ago, from a well-known Chinese website, I purchased a very cheap set of riding lights or driving lights. And to be fair, they weren't the cheapest on there, and they've been all right. You sort of turn them on and they turn on, turn them off and they turn off, and that's about the limit of what you get. The driving pattern though, or the light pattern, wasn't particularly good, and I wasn't overly impressed with it. There's no adjustability to it, and there's no real sort of thought that's gone into how the light actually projects out of the unit. So, I mean, they're okay, and they've got me by. Fortunately, a really dear friend of mine by the name of Sean, which you will meet in future videos, was selling a second-hand set of these, which is made by a company called Gooeylight. Not actually heard of them, and it's the Hunter 4000L range. Now, I was present when he purchased the lights, and they were really good, really impressive, and they're sort of fully adjustable as far as brightness, color. You've got two colors on these. You've got like an amber light and also a white light, and also strobe effects and things like that, which you can apply, which is under certain circumstances I think quite a safe thing, especially if you're filtering and things like that and you want to be just seen, which is all important on a motorcycle. The more you can be seen, the better, in my opinion. So I think what we'll do is we'll tear into the bike a little bit. We're going to remove this old set of lights, work out a way of fitting these, because the brackets are going to be slightly different, and I might have to come up with a hopefully a solution. But I think what we'll do, we'll tear in and we'll see where we end up. To gain access to the first bolts and things we need to undo, we need to take the seat off, and it's quite simple on a BMW. It's the key in to the side here, turn it anti-clockwise, and then the seat just comes away, and it's quite simply as simple as that. Now, most of the bolts on these BMWs are Torx, so we're going to be using a Torx bits to enable us to move. Hopefully, I can't quite remember exactly how it's done, but this section here, the tank cover, or the tank entry point cover, shall I say, and we're going to get to the point where we can move out the way some of this plastics around the actual tank itself. The tank sits underneath the plastics as a separate unit. So look, this isn't actually the tank, this is just a cover for it. That'll allow us to get access to the cables that I've previously installed. So let's get a few bits undone. Okay, just remembered, say it's been a little while since I've done this. You don't actually need to remove this tank ring at all. It's just purely the bolts front and back to be able to get this off, this center piece off. So you don't actually need to remove that. So I will put those bolts back in just a moment. Get yourself a pry tool, a clip tool, just for these little clips down here, because you don't really want to break and damage anything. I'll just get a little cloth to go under there because I don't want to scratch any paint. You just have to be quite careful when you're prying things onto plastics and things like that, because they will scratch really easily. So that takes the top off, and then there's like another plastic bit that comes off, and it's quite straightforward. Put the two bits loosely together like that for reinstallation. Okay, so now that's apart, I think I need to do this lower bolt here as well. There's one underneath. It's all from memory. It's been a while since I've done this, and one thing I don't have for this bike is a workshop manual, just to be absolutely sure. But most of the time with motorbikes or cars or anything like that, it's just a process of just slowly removing things, looking, thinking, what do I need to undo? What needs to come apart or come off to achieve my goal? Sometimes you'll take more off than you actually need to, but then you learn. Another good little tip try not to leave it too long between taking stuff apart and putting it back together, because invariably what will happen is you'll forget how it all goes back together. Taking pictures also helps. Probably taken off more than I need to, but we'll see. So we've got these little clips just here to remove or to try and lever off. Try not to use too much pressure on anything. It's got it. There we go. Now I'm not going to need to remove the entire plastics to get the wire out. As long as I've got just enough movement, I should be able to pull the wire back through like there we go, previously had done. And that's really what I'm going to need to do. So all I've done is I've just loosened this top section. So yeah, I did take off way more than I probably needed to, but like I said before, it's a bit of a journey of discovery when you do this sort of stuff. And then I can at least now get all the cabling out. So that's what I'm going to do. Just going to get this done and be back in a moment. Right, so we're very nearly close to getting everything apart. I've just got the light now unplugged. As you can see here, that's the other end. So that's just ready to unbolt now from the bike itself, which is pretty straightforward. Just going to be undoing a single bolt just here. I hope you can see that. And then we can change the lights over. All I've got to do now is just very quickly undo the other side, the other light on the other side, and then I can remove this entire harness and then disconnect it from the battery. So that shouldn't take too long. Right, we're now at a point where I can now disconnect all of this wiring. Now this was all the wiring that came with the kit for the original lights. I'm going to try and do it without restarting the or disconnecting the battery. So I'm going to try and be a little bit clever with the way I hold the cables, because I don't want to reset all my mileage data at the minute on the bike. So to disconnect it, you've got a little lever here just to pop up for your positive. And I'll just loosely clamp those down for a moment. They are going to have to come off again, of course, for the new light. So that's all that disconnected. So the only last thing to do now is just to remove the front lights by undoing a single 10mm bolt on each light, which I'll do now. that's it. That's all that holds that on. So another reason why I wanted to replace these lights is because of condensation, which has actually been forming inside the light itself. I'm not sure whether the camera is going to show that. So you really truly get what you pay for. And as a friend of mine has always said, friend Sean, that yeah, buy the best you can possibly buy, really, because it will repay you in the long run. So I really ought to listen. Probably never gonna, but I ought to. So we're going to take a little look now at the new lights that are going in. So it is a used kit. Okay, this is the first look at the first light, which is a lovely unit. Now I'm hopeful, just looking at it, that I can just literally bolt it straight on without any issue. So we'll take a little look at that in a moment. But it looks like I might just be able to use that single bolt as a mounting point, so I can swivel that way if I need to. And obviously there's a pivot there which will allow me to adjust and dial it in. So other things in the kit. Is loads of wiring, more wiring to go on. You've got a little flasher unit, which is quite nice. Looks like a power port. And then the control itself for different light modes and brightness. So yeah, far more customizable than the previous light. So I think what we'll do now is going to start looking and seeing how I'm going to work this all out. So just a single bolt straight from the bracket straight in and straight into the light, and they've actually mounted up really well. I might need to make a small adjustment to this bracket just to bring it a bit more straight because it looks bent compared to the other one. So I might just have a little play with that later. But for now, all I've got to do is to make sense of the wiring, get everything routed how I wanted it, wire everything up to the battery, and then we'll get them turned on and see what they look like. Right, so now the front lights are all mounted, what I need to do now is to make sense of this lot and try and work out exactly where I want everything to go. So we'll take a little look at the wiring first. Now fortunately, looks like things I'm sort of plug in and unplug, so it's going to be a little bit modular. So just want to work out what's going to be a nice place to fit this. And I've also got a little self-adhesive flasher switch to put in somewhere, which I might want to put somewhere near the existing flasher. Just trying to work out where it looks best. Maybe there, maybe not. I think it's designed to go on the mirror, so it might be better to put it this side, maybe. That way it kind of be, yeah, I think that side, it might be out of the way then. Okay, so I'm going to get the mirror off, which I always look forward to doing, and then we'll see if we can get that mounted on the mirror. But it's also got a self-adhesive bit, so it could go somewhere else. But no, I think the mirror mount is the better option. So we'll take the mirror off and we'll see exactly what it looks like once it's installed. This is how I've managed to configure it. So I've got the bracket onto the mirror, which is nicely attached. So I've got my control here for I'm assuming brightness and different light modes and turning on and off. And then the back here I've got my what I hope is going to be a flasher, but we'll find out. I may move this and put it further down, but we'll see. I'm just thinking that when I'm revving, that might just be a little tricky to operate, but we'll see. There's also a scope for it to go the other side, but the way the bracket's configured, it's going to be covering up some of my buttons here, which I don't really want to do. So for my taste, this is the preference. I could put that little switch there, just here also, or even here, but then I think it might just get in the way there, so we'll see. I think that works there. I've still got my main flashes, and to be fair, the lights on this particular BMW are incredible anyway, which does beg the question why I'm putting extras on, but be safe, be seen and all that. So I've also had a little play with the brackets to line them up a little bit, which is looking quite good now. Now the remaining part is to get this wiring kind of in. And what you've got is you've got your left and right lights plus an additional, which wire, as you can just see there, which is the one that connects up to here. Now there's probably almost certainly going to be extra wire involved, but the plan will be is to kind of lay this block module, if you like, kind of under here, and then that should give just about enough wire to reach the lights, and then run the rest of the wire through the fairing and onto the battery. So I think I'll get on and do that now, and I'll show you how it looks when it's all done. So the way I've routed this is the primary cable goes from the battery, which is just here, runs through the fairing, gets looped at the back here, hopefully that's coming out on the video, cable tied, and where you can, when you're doing this sort of work, from my experience, is use existing anchor points for cables, breather pipes and things like that as you're routing. So if a cable automatically goes through a certain point, a pinch point like headstocks and things like that, then try and attach to the existing cable, because that way you know it's been designed that it can receive a cable and you're not going to get any sort of clearance issues when it comes to turning your handlebars and that kind of thing. So hopefully this is coming out clear enough in the video, but it was a bit fiddly because trying to do cable ties one-handed can also be a bit of a pain. There's absolutely no issues with any wires interfering with any part of the steering. Nothing's under any kind of stress, and I'm more than happy with the install. In fact, you can barely see, you won't really see actually any wires once the all the coverings are back on, which I'm going to do now. So I'm going to button up the front, get all that sorted, then we'll reattach or attach the power wires to the lights themselves, connect to the battery, and that should be job done. Okay, right, so the last little bit that I've just done is I've just lost a little bit of the excess cable because there was a little bit too much, and I've cable tied it up. Now when you're routing, you always want to think about how taut your cable's going to be. You don't want it to be taut anywhere, really. You don't want it to be too slack either. Now because this is fused, I want to be able to get access to the fuse, so I've kind of tucked the cable away underneath the excess, cable tied it all up. I'm going to trim the cable tie ends in a second, just because I'm a little bit obsessed with neatness. And now we're ready to connect the battery terminals, which I will just do now. Any problems there? Cool, so now that's all connected, should now be in a position to hopefully test these lights to make sure that they all work. So let's do that. Okay, so after a fair bit of fettling and sorting out the cables, making sure everything's routed how I want them, the lights are now up and running and working absolutely lovely. So if I push and hold the power button to turn the lights on, initially they go into sort of daytime running mode, which is kind of where they are at the moment. And there's an automatic function, so it's like a light sensor built in that will turn them on when it's dark enough, and then you can adjust the colors and how much light output you want. But there are a few modes available for daytime. So there's daytime running. So if I single press the flasher unit, then they will go on to all on, full power. If I press and hold, I get a strobe effect, which is very useful for filtering through traffic. And if I push and hold for longer, I get 3 flashes and a break, 3 flashes and a break. And then that's the lights off. So yeah, really pleased with those. Even for the daytime use, they're going to be useful. And at night time, it will change again, because then I can adjust the color, temperatures and all that sort of stuff. So I'll do a bit of night testing and hopefully add it to this video. So now I've fitted the new lights and tested them, I'm really pleased with them, and I think they're going to be a great addition to the bike, and also my safety riding it. Having that strobe function, I think it's going to be brilliant, and just means that when I am filtering and doing certain maneuvers, just having that extra light and extra visibility, I think is going to be really good and make it a lot safer for me to ride the bike. I've also really enjoyed working on the BMW for once, because I don't often have to work on it, because it's a relatively new bike, so I don't have to do a lot. So it's been an absolute pleasure to finally get some tools out and work on the BMW. I do hope you've enjoyed the video, and some of you will find this useful. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. It's really going to support the channel, and it really helps me, and I want the channel to grow. And with that in mind, if you could subscribe and you want to see more content like this, then please do. Once again, that's a massive, massive help and a really big support. So thank you for that, and thank you for watching, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next one.